everybody, welcome to another video on the 67 Mustang channel. So this video is going to be a little bit different. Thanks to weather and work and still recovering from the COVID stuff, I really haven't had time to work on the car. So I don't have any footage or videos or content, I guess, about the car to put in here. So what I'm going to do is something a little different. I've done this before on previous Memorial Day or Veterans Day, but we'll get into that in a moment. A couple of things I did want to let you know. One, I've got a new email I set up for the channel. I don't know why I haven't done this sooner, but it's 67stangga@gmail.com. So if you want to reach out to me directly, share input, ask questions, whatever it is, feel free to use that email to get in touch with me. I look forward to hearing from you. The other thing I'm working on is some t-shirts or some merchandise type stuff. So y'all may remember in past videos I had that wonderful shirt with the 67 Stang, this car in it, with kind of neat artwork, whatever, done by Andrew over at Grease Rookie Garage. He did that for me. Now originally he was going to sell shirts with that artwork on his channel, which I was perfectly happy about. I mean, he did the artwork, it was amazing, so get it. But he actually reached out, well, let me back, I reached out to him to find out when and if he was going to do that. He said that he didn't really expect to, so I asked him if I could create some merch with that artwork on it, and he said yes. So I'm working now on getting that a little bit, cleaned up's not the right word, but suited better for being able to put on different shirt colors and all that, because he had it set up for a primary shirt color because he sent me the shirt. So I'm trying to work on getting that done. So I'll have that, and I'm going to be working on a couple other things that we can do. So expect that to happen sometime fairly soon. So I'm kind of excited about that. So anyway, enough about the introduction. What I'm going to be doing today is getting into some more of my military experiences. So if you're looking for car content, sorry guys, this isn't it. What I want to do is share some of my experiences. I talked in a past video about my experiences during Desert Storm and Desert Shield. So this time I think I'll start more closer to the beginning of my time in the military. So with that, let's get into talking about that. So, as I said, we're going to be doing this a little differently. I want to talk about, again, some more of my experiences in the military, and starting primarily, well, at the beginning. So, my time of getting into boot camp and some of my experiences during boot camp and whatnot. So, again, hope you enjoy this. This also helps for my family to have some of these reminiscences, as it were. So I had, for most of my time in high school, knew I wanted to go into the military. My family has a long history of military service dating back to the American Revolution or War of Independence. So pretty much every generation has had folks that have served, and we've been involved in or had people in service in every major conflict the U.S. has been involved in up through Desert Storm at that point. So I said, I kind of knew that's where I wanted to go. I had a fascination with the Navy and naval history, especially in the U.S. And really felt that was probably a good fit for me. My grandfather had served in the Army Air Corps and Air Force. My dad had served in the Army. My uncle had served in the Navy. And I just felt the Navy was the place I wanted to be. It had, the Navy has its own ground force, being the Marines. Sorry, Marines. We have our own Air Force through naval aviation with aircraft carriers like the Saratoga that I served on. Obviously, we have our own sea forces, being the Navy. So it just, like I said, it just seemed like the service for me. So having made up my mind with that, I knew I was going to do it. I decided, well, it was a time where I wanted to go in the Naval Academy, and thought about that long and hard. And sadly, as a 16, 17-year-old, I looked at the effort it took to do all that, and I just didn't want to do it. I'll admit, at that time, I was just plain out lazy. So with that in mind, I decided I would just enlist. So at the age of 17, I actually enlisted in the delayed entry program, and went to the recruiter, got that all set up, picked my rate, which is in the Navy what we call is our job. In the Army, I think it's in what they call the MOS. So I was going to be an operations specialist, and they tried to get me to go nuke because I took the Armed Forces Aptitude Battery Test, ASFAB, and I scored 90 something, I don't even remember, 96 or something. I'm pretty high up there. So they wanted me to go nuke. I did not want to glow in the dark, so, and at the time, my goal was to be stationed on a battleship. I have a fascination, they still do, with battleships. And back then, we're talking in the late 80s, the Navy still had 4 battleships in commission, all of the Iowa class. The Iowa, New Jersey, Wisconsin, and Missouri were all in commission, and they just been fairly recently recommissioned as part of Reagan's 600 ship Navy as part of the Cold War. Okay, so let's get more into my thing. So first experience was going in enlisting in the delayed entry program. So my recruiter took me downtown to Atlanta at the MEP station, which is where all of those entering the military, regardless of service, start. So that's where you go in, you sign in your contracts, and you take your oath and all that. So I got down there. Now, that day, I was planning to leave with my girlfriend, who is now my wife, to go on our first couple vacation together. We're going to go down to Florida. My recruiter had assured me we would get out in plenty of time and this wouldn't be a problem. This was the first clue that some of the advice my dad had been giving me about the military was correct. He tried to tell me that the military as a whole is all about hurry up and wait and a lot of other things. And of course I told Dad, you were in the Army, you have no idea what you're talking about. The Navy's going to be different. Yeah, it wasn't so different. Get down there, we start going through things, but there is a lot of sitting. And I was looking at my watch. You know, back then we didn't have smartphones, so I was looking at my watch. I was like, I need to get out of here. I need to get out of here. So finally, at some point, I went up to one of the people there that had been proud and said, listen, you need to finish me, get me out of here, or I'm leaving. I hadn't taken my oath, so I'm done. I'm leaving. He's, oh, you can't do that. You can't do that. So, yeah, I can. I'm going to. I'm going to go out, hop on, the bus and get back home because I wanted to go on this vacation. So he ended up calling my recruiter. I told my recruiter I was going to leave if they didn't get this done. Recruiter talked to the guy, and surprisingly, within an hour after that, I was done and out of there. And got to go on my vacation. And that was pretty wonderful. It was a great trip with my wife, then girlfriend, and whatnot. So that was kind of the first experience with the military's hurry up and wait. Not my last experience by a long shot. So we'll fast forward. That was about a year before I went off to boot camp. So get up to time to go to boot camp. The day before, the night before we're supposed to go ship out to go to wherever our prospective boot camps are. We were supposed to stay in the hotel, this designated hotel, that night before. So that day I spent most of it with, again, my girlfriend, now my wife, just enjoying each other. We went to our favorite restaurant at the time, and it is now, it was called Little Gardens. It was an old plantation style house. It was built after the Civil War, so I won't call it a plantation now, but it was styled as that kind of Greek revival architecture that had been turned into a restaurant. And oh my God, the food there was amazing. Oh Lord, I love the corridors of Neptune, Long Island duck. Oh, creme brulee. Oh man, it was just amazing. And we've been going there. That was our restaurant, my wife and I's, throughout our dating in high school, and all that. We went there because we were going to a dance. I think it was one of those, call it Snowball, but it was kind of that Sadie Hawkins where the girl asked the guy. Anyway, and so she had a coupon there, so we went there for that dance. Enjoyed it so much, we kept going back, and it got to the point that the waiter, the staff, all of those knew us. I mean, we came in the door, they greeted us by name. They knew what we liked. Anyway, I digress. Well, let's get back. So we had dinner there. My now mother-in-law drove us to the hotel that I had to go stay at so we could enjoy that last time together. Of course, there were a lot of tears and I'm going to miss you and all those things as you would expect. But so I got there, checked in, got to my room. Now I went in my room and I don't get a room to myself. That's not how the military works. There was another recruit that was there that was going to be coming in. He was going Army, so we chatted a little bit. He was watching this. So this was in April, May. No, it had to be. It was June. Just because I got out of high school in the first, like June 10th or so. So this was like the week or 2 weeks after graduation from high school. And so like I said, we chatted. He was watching sports on the TV. I had a book, so I was reading, and we finally decided to go to sleep somewhere around midnight or so. So I'm, asleep because we have to get up at like 4 o'clock in the morning. That's reveille to catch the bus and all that. So go to sleep. About 2 o'clock in the morning, I hear banging on the door. Atlanta police, open the door. What the heck? Atlanta police, what? Open the door. I jump out of bed, go running to the door, open it up, and they ask, "Are you so-and-so?" And I don't remember the guy. I said, "No, it's him." And I point to the other bed where that guy's just blinking his eyes still in bed. They go rushing in past me, yanking him out of bed, throwing him in cuffs, and dragging him out of the room. And I'm like, what just happened? Huh? So I did ask one of the cops. I said, what's he being arrested for? He was apparently for what is it? Grand larceny or armed robbery. That was it. He had apparently held up a convenience store or something like that, and was trying to kind of escape by going into the Army. Not like when you get to courts where the courts give you the choice. No, that he was just trying before anyway. So they dragged him off at, like I said, 2 in the morning. That was fun. And needless to say, after that big jolt, I could not go back to sleep. It wasn't going to happen. So went ahead. I tried for about an hour and realized at 3 I was going to have to get up. At 4 anyway, so I just forget it. Got up, showered, shaved, got all cleaned up, dressed. Called my girlfriend, woke her up. If I was awake, why not her? She was, actually happy to talk to me because of being gone for a while. So she, anyway, we chatted, and from there things went normal. Got on the bus, went to MEPS. MEPS gave us all of our orders, grouped us by who was going to what boot camp. They put us on buses to the Atlanta airport. Got Atlanta. Got to our flights with help from the USO, and from there I began my journey from the Atlanta airport up to the Recruit Training Command at Great Lakes, what we affectionately called Great Mistakes. So got there, and it was the typical, you've seen it, if you've seen Officer and a Gentleman or whatever, in boot camp, you get off the bus, you're greeted by what the Navy calls company commanders. That's our version of drill instructors or drill sergeants, whatever you will call them. And file us up. Of course, they're yelling at us, telling us how worthless we are, and we'll never make sailors, and all that kind of stuff. What you would expect, I had been told by my dad and other members of the family about what to expect at boot camp, so I kind of had an idea. I didn't always believe them, but kind of had an idea. So, and I had cut before, kind of like I'm getting shaggy thanks to COVID. I need a haircut. But yes, it was the 80s. I originally had a mullet. Yeah. I'll try to put a picture. Well, you've maybe seen it with the picture of me in the Mustang in the 80s, but I'll pop it up here. Yeah, I had a mullet. I was smart enough to get that cut off before I went to boot camp. Now, I was smart enough not to completely, go with the boot camp shaved head look, because then they think you're trying to be smart and all that. It was better to not do that. So I just had a standard clean haircut. Again, my idea was to slide in under the radar as much as possible. That just made a lot of sense. That's kind of what I did in high school, honestly. So did all that, and it was they hustle us off to a room where we have to. Well, first thing we go to pay phones and call home. So we call home, let them know we made it safe and sound. I should add that from O'Hare Airport to the Naval Recruit Training Command, we rode a chartered bus, and somewhere on the way out there it broke down. I don't remember exactly what, but yeah, so police one night, break down on the bus to the boot camp. We had to wait on the side of the road for a couple hours. So we get to boot camp sometime late at night, I don't know, 10 o'clock or so, I'm guessing. And then we start going through this, right? So call home first. Then it was get your head shaved. There's no option on that. And then you go in and you fill out some more forms. They take all of your civilian stuff. So, anything you brought from home, books, civilian clothing, even toiletries, all of that. They just, everything that was part of your civilian life, they take from you. They allowed me to keep my glasses until I got my BCDs. So it was birth control device glasses, which were these horrible black plastic things. Anyway, but everything else they take from you, you put it in a bag, you lock the bag with your name on it, and they hold that for you while you're in boot camp. You do get it back at the completion of boot camp, so don't get rid of it, but do that. Then they issue you some, you go through a basic uniform issue of PT gear that night. They get you some basic Navy PT gear, so everybody's dressed the same. And then with that little bit of stuff, we go to our temporary berthing space, and that so by the time you get done with that, it's friggin' 2 a.m. And again, another 4 o'clock reveille, which happens just like you see, I think, in Full Metal Jacket or whatever, where the gunny throws the trash can down, banging and clanging, screaming, get you up. You have 5 minutes to, I'm just going to say it, shower and shave. And then they expect, and then you go through gauntlet. So the stuff I want to focus on, besides the standard boot camp stuff, the thing you have to remember with boot camp is it's all a mind game. The whole point of boot camp is kind of break that individual thought and make you think more about being part of a team, right? That you're part of the Navy, right? You're no longer the civilian, you're part of the Navy. So they really try to just play a lot of head games with you to stress you. There is a lot, or used to be, I understand it's gotten much easier, but I mean, the drill instructor, or I'm sorry, the company commanders in the Navy, they couldn't physically touch you. They couldn't, they could, if you had to do like drill manual or something, they had to adjust. They could do that, but they could. There was no physical. Like they couldn't hit you, smack you, kick you, stand on you, sit on you, or any of that. But they could get right up in your face and yell at you, and they did that a lot. The other thing is, if you screwed up, you would get what we called mashed. And what that really meant is they would literally exercise you to the point of exhaustion. So, I mean, push-ups, sit-ups, you know, jumping jacks, flutter kicks, the drill. And I was there in summer. Now, the Navy at the time had 3 boot camp locations. You had the one I went to up in Great Lakes. You had one in San Diego, and you had one down in Orlando. And again, I went in June through August, I think. Yeah. And I have a yearbook for that, or I can't find it. Anyway, so why did I pick Great Mistakes? Well, I'm a Southern boy. At the time, I hadn't been any further. Well, I'd gone to New York to get the Mustang. That was my most northern experience, and that was for basically a weekend. I had been to Washington, D.C. As a safety patrol during our patrol trip, but I really hadn't done much travel in the north. So I'm sitting there thinking, it's summer. I got to go to boot camp. I can go to San Diego. I can go to Orlando, or I can go to Great Lakes. Well, I know what Orlando's like. It's in the south. It's going to be horribly humid. It's just going to be a mess. I don't want that. Then I looked at San Diego, and San Diego wasn't necessarily bad, except the Marine Corps had a boot camp right next to the Navy boot camp. And what I had heard was there was a little competition between the Marine drill instructors and the Navy company commanders on who could, make boot camp more difficult. So I didn't really want to do that. And so I think, well, Great Lakes, that's up north. That's Chicago. That's got to be cooler than any of these other places. I'm going to go up there. I didn't do my research. So I get there, and it is literally the hottest summer on record at that time. So we're talking about 1988. I got off the plane in O'Hare and thought, did we leave Atlanta? I mean, it is so humid. It's 90-something degrees. It's just ridiculous. So my boot camp experience, I should have just stayed in Atlanta. If they had a boot camp, it would have been the same. It was just as hot. But I know I'm rambling a bit, but during boot camp, once you realize it's a mind game, you can kind of adjust and just accept and know it'll end. But it can be hard. Now, one of the things I got lucky is because I did score so high on that ASVAB, I got selected, or voluntold, to be a divisional yeoman. So in the Navy, a yeoman is an administrative person. We do all the paperwork. We pretty much shuffle paper around. Of course, this was before email, so we'd have to carry papers and stuff. So we had a company yeoman. So when you get there, you're assigned once you go through all what we call NDOC, where that's where you go through medical and you get the shot. So if you have ever seen this, when you go through medical, as part of your NDOC, they give you all these vaccinations. So they pretty much vaccinate you against every possible thing known to man, or at least it feels that way. And literally, it's a shot line. They've got corpsmen, which is the, kind of like hospital attendants or whatever, that are in a line. And there's like 5 of them, or 4, I forget the exact number. There was a bunch of them on these. And you go through in your T-shirt with your sleeves rolled up, both sides, and they come through with these pressure guns to shoot the injections into you. And of course, they're scaring you, telling you, oh, well, don't forget, the last one's the 6-inch long square needle that they give you an injection in places you don't want injections in. And so, of course, you got this fear. And anyway, they inject you in, and if you flinch, it will cut, and there's guys with blood running down their arms. So got to go through that. That was all kinds of fun to do. Of course, they issue your whole sea bag, all of your uniform items, dress uniforms, working uniforms, and all that. And at that point, you get out of your PT gear and you start wearing your dungarees, which We is what we had. Now they have these camo things. Dungarees were bell-bottom jeans that had 4 back pockets. And what I mean by that, I mean they don't have 4 pockets on the back, but that same style, the back pockets on your jeans are on the front. And then a light blue shirt, right? That you have to then stencil your name across. So I had to do that. And then you have to go through and learn how to fold everything, because everything has to go in your locker in a certain way. Everything has to be folded a certain way. I mean, literally in boot camp, they tell you how to do everything, and I do mean everything. Right? How to brush your teeth, how to clean your ears, how to fold your clothes, how to wear your clothes, how to write, how to, I mean, just everything. They tell you everything is regimented, which is not unexpected. So anyway, back to what I was talking about with the yeoman. So I became a divisional yeoman. So unlike the company yeoman, which had to stay with the company and do all of the company paperwork, I had to go down to the division, so the company was part of a larger group of a division, and the division had multiple companies. And I think I was in the 21st or 22nd division. I don't remember. But as the divisional yeoman, I had to go down and work with the division staff, the officers and enlisted staff that made sure everything ran properly, and fill out all kinds of paperwork. As new companies came in, I had to get their roster, make sure they had. So we had this thing called a Ricky Pass, which was a laminated little card that had your name and company and division. And as long as you had the pass, you were allowed to move freely around the Naval Recruit Training Command facilities without getting in trouble. You had to have the pass, which meant they didn't just typically give you the pass. The company commanders kept those and only gave them out on special occasions. Now, because I was divisional yeoman and I had to run paperwork all over the base, I always had mine. So usually what happened once I got that, I'd get up in the morning when reveille would sound, and once I made up my bunk and I got, showered and shaved and cleaned and all that, I would go down to my desk to do my paperwork in the morning while the company got all formed up and had to go march to breakfast together. So when they would go to breakfast as the company, you'd have to go through the chow line extremely quickly, right? Everybody's filtered through, you sit down, and you may get lucky to have 5 minutes or something to eat. Well, I would go do my paperwork and then find out, I'd send another divisional yeoman would go and find out where or which bay in the galley my company had gone to. And then I would take my little Ricky Pass and I'd go to a different bay, and I would be able to go through the chow line because I had my Ricky Pass at my own leisure, which was wonderful. I did have a problem the first couple of weeks I was there. In the chow hall, the soda machines, the fountain drinks machines were down, and they didn't have coffee. Well, and I had a major caffeine addiction. In high school, I was drinking a 6-pack of Coke or more a day. Yeah, it's not good for me. Plus, I was eating, my breakfast in the morning was usually a Milky Way candy bar and a 16-ounce Coke. So I had a major caffeine addiction. So those first couple weeks, I had major migraine headaches. And I'll never forget the first time they got the soda machines working. That's all I did. I just kept going back to the soda machine, drinking Coke or whatever soda they had. I'm from Atlanta, so everything's a Coke. So I was drinking that, and luckily we had soda the rest of the time. And also the advantage being divisional yeoman is eventually after a certain point, I was able to drink the coffee the officers had. I had to make it, and so they didn't mind me taking a cup in the morning, which was nice. So my caffeine addiction was taken care of. That was great. So the other thing, so that gave me freedom. So I never had to go with my company. Well, I can't never. A lot of times I was able to not have to march with my company. The other thing, when I did have to march with my company, if we did something that got us in trouble, we forgot to salute somebody properly, or we didn't post road guards correctly, or people were out of step, whatever it was, these infractions usually led to the mashing I was telling you about. So what I would do is once we got back to the division, when the rest of the company was filing off to go up into our bay in the barracks, I would go back down to my desk. And invariably, I would hear up in our berthing space, the bunks being slid to the walls to make room for the mashing that was about to happen, and then a bunch of 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1. Yeah, they would go back. So you're going to do 50 push-ups, which invariably would turn into 100 because of the way they count. So I got to avoid that. I have to say my time in the boot camp was pretty straightforward and easy. The one time I almost really got in trouble is part of the duties as divisional yeoman is individuals that were cited for some infraction had to go to EMI, which is extra military instruction. So we had responsibility of making sure to take these folks to whatever instruction they were going to have. So that might have been staying at the division and cleaning. So we had a big torpedo out front that had to be cleaned and had a brass nose that had to be polished. And there was a ton of brass on the entryway, which we called the quarterdeck, that had to be polished and swept and mopped, and so they do that. We actually had them clean the boiler room in June. It was quite hot. But on, I think it was Thursdays, you got extra special EMI. That was when the SEALs were there doing calisthenics and things. So we would march these poor fellows, and there were no women at Great Lakes at that time. So these poor fellows down to where the SEALs were doing their exercising and leave them with the SEALs. And the SEALs would exercise them. Yes, the US Navy SEALs, Special Forces guys. Oh my God. But then we also had to go back when it was done and march these guys back. Well, one night, somehow it got confused on who was supposed to pick them up. So anyway, I ended up having to go down, get woken up and sent down to go get these guys. And I got my butt reamed. It was, I luckily did not get EMI. I'm surprised, but it was no fun. I did get a little bit of the SEALs exercising me, a little bit of mashing as a result of that. But then I had to bring it. Needless to say, that never happened again. Another thing we had to do is division. If somebody had to get transferred out of a company for medical reasons, for maybe they just weren't cutting it. There were guys, there was a lot of attempted suicides in boot camp. None successful, but some attempted, like trying to use a safety razor to, anyway. So I was up helping, because a lot of times if these guys were in medical or mental or whatever, we had to get their stuff and then take it to them. So I was up with one of the company commanders going through and inventorying an individual's gear and putting it into their sea bag and all that. And we were talking as we're doing it. Now, again, this is a company commander. We're supposed to yes sir, no sir, all of that, just like they were if they were an officer. So we're doing this, and we were chatting about various things like home and all that. And I kind of lost track of what I was doing, or more importantly, who I was talking to, and kind of slipped into the civilian, yep, nah, sure, kind of thing, and not calling them either sir or petty officer or something, or company commander. And I said it, yeah, absolutely, or yeah, sure. And he looked and said, what did you just say? Yes, sir. No, that's not what you said. Drop. And I got mashed again. So yes, I missed a lot of mashing with the CC or with the company, but I did get a couple on my own. So the last couple things I want to just point out or talk about memories. There we go. Is a little bit about. Well, one was a time, so on Sundays, we had like half a day somewhat to ourselves. We would get our Ricky passes, or others would, and we could go to. They had a little recreation building that had a bank of phones, so we could call home. We could buy uh, candy and cookies and things like that. We had to eat them that day. We couldn't keep them. We could get pizza, things like that. So we all went up there, and so I went up and um, was trying to call home, and I tried to call. Well, first I tried to call my girlfriend. She didn't answer, and so of course, my wife. Then I tried to call my mom and dad. They didn't answer, and so then I tried to call my grandparents, and they answered. This was my dad's mom and dad, but they couldn't hear me. It's very frustrating. I got very frustrated by that because that one lifeline to home. And again, remember this was before email and Zoom and all these other things we have now. So it was very frustrating. I remember I got very depressed as a result of that. Luckily we had mail call and I got some mail, which helped, which is a big deal. So last thing I want to talk about is it said the graduation. So we get ready to graduation. Luckily, finally the heat broke. The heat broke, and my dad, my girlfriend, now wife, and her mother all came up. Now, my wife had foot surgery. I guess the week of that, or week leading up to that, so she was still in a cast. So apparently when she got on if anybody's been to the Atlanta airport, we have the train that takes you between the different terminals. So she got on that. She was in a wheelchair. And her mom had put her on the train, but then let go so she could hold on, because on that train, you get jerked. But she forgot to put the brake on the wheelchair. So when the train started, my girlfriend, I just started shooting down the length of the train. Oh, his story was kind of funny. But anyway, they get up there, and so it was just an amazing time. And I've actually got some pictures of that weekend that I got to spend with her. So it was, my dad only came up for the day. We had dinner that night. He flew back that night, but they stayed up for the weekend. And so we had a hotel room and all that. So we went to go see Who Framed Roger Rabbit. So it was my first movie out of boot camp. Had some good chow and got to spend time. But I got some pictures. Like I said, I'll put them up here. They're not great. They're kind of fuzzy. But I was a scrawny little guy. Scrawny. Can't believe I was that skinny at all. It's amazing. So I got out of boot camp. It was not nearly as bad as I thought it would be. It wasn't easy by any stretch. But because I was divisional yeoman, I got a lot of slack. Here's another story. So one thing we got to do is every package that came in to anybody in the division, we had to inspect it to make sure no contraband was being sent in. The only thing you could receive from home were homemade goods, right? So homemade cookies, pies, candies, those things. So anything that was in a package, like say M&Ms or Three Musketeers or Chips Ahoy or whatever, you weren't allowed to have. So we would pull out, and of course you couldn't get civilian clothing. That would be kept by the CCs and eventually turned over. I think you could get a book or something like that and have, or a magazine, that kind of stuff. But so we'd go through that, and of course we'd pull out all the contraband. And I don't know how it happened, but sometimes contraband found its way into my desk. Got me how that happened. I still to this day don't know how it got in my desk. Yeah, so that was kind of fun. So anyway, like I said, I had a pretty good boot camp experience. It wasn't too bad. Went through it, got out, and then went on to A school and whatnot. But anyway, so that was kind of my introduction in there. I did get the joys of going through the gas chamber. So let me explain that. It sounds bad. So as you go in, and this is to teach you about how to wear a gas mask and how to clear it, and it's part of your standard training. So you go in there with your gas mask on, and the company commanders are in there, and they kind of tell you what's going on and all that. Then they drop basically tear gas off, a canister. This was a pill, I think they dropped in, if I remember correctly, and they let the room fill with tear gas. Then you have to take your mask off, say your name and social security number, then put your mask back on and clear it. So that was fun. It was a great way to clear the sinuses. I think all of us came out and we had, stuff pouring out of our nose, and some guys vomited and all that. So I didn't vomit. I did have stuff coming out my nose. It was not pretty, and trying to clear the mask is not easy there. So that was another fun thing. I can tell you weapons training. So everybody thinks you go in the military and they train you how to use weapons, right? How to shoot an M16 or what do they call M4s, I think now, whatever. Shotguns. Well, that's not how the Navy boot camp works. So we went in to our weapons training. They do go over all the weapons that you might encounter, the shotguns. At the time, the Navy still had M14s, 1911 Colts, 45s. I think they talk about 50 cals, Ma Deuces, and those. And they tell you how they function, what they da-da-da-da-da. Okay? Then they go over basic safety training. Then it's time to go to the range. You go into the range and you have a 45, but it's not really a 1911 45. It's a 1911 that's been calibered in 22. You have two mags, two magazines that have 5 rounds each. So what you have to do is you take, at following the commands, you take the gun up, right, and you bring it back, turn it this way to you. You pull the slide back when instructed to verify there is no rounds in it, like you should. You release the slide. Then, and this is kind of down at here, then you bring the gun up towards your chest. They tell you to take a magazine up. You put the magazine in the gun, right? And then again on command, and again, you're not going to have your finger on the trigger, by the way, obviously. Then you pull the slide back, let the slide go to chamber around. So you're sitting here like this. Of course, you have hearing protection, eye protection. And then you go out, you fire your 5 rounds when instructed, you bring the gun back, you release the magazine, put the magazine on it, pull the slide back to eject or make sure the gun is, the slides are to lock back because it's empty, right? So you're verifying that, take the next one, put it in, then release the slide, pull out, fire your 5 rounds, bring it back, eject the mag, verify it's not loaded, release the slide, bring it down, and then eventually you're done. That's the extent of Navy weapons training back in 1988. I don't know if they've changed it, but that was all the weapons training I had. I had more training with my dad in his weapons growing up than I got in the Navy, at least until I got onto the ship. Eventually, when I got on the ship, I became part of a Tango Alpha team, which is one who goes, if there's a terrorist attack, we'd go and man a 50 caliber gun mount. So I got to man a Ma Deuce M2 50 caliber machine gun as part of that team. But that was much, much later, several years later, as a matter of fact. So anyway, so there we go. That's my experiences during boot camp in a nutshell. Hopefully you've enjoyed some of them. I'd love to hear about your experiences, how yours differed. I know some people had a lot harder boot camps. I can tell you from what I understand, the Marine Corps is the hardest, followed by the Coast Guard, which would surprise many, then the Army, then the Navy, and then the Air Force. So that's what I understand. I can only speak to the Navy experiences, but anyway, with that, guys, hope you've enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. I promise more Mustang content coming soon. By the way, my wife has given me the thumbs up towards getting the Holley EFI system for the Mustang. So I'm thinking I'm going to do that. I just got to figure out how to pay for it. So that hopefully will be happening. We still got to put the instrument panel in. We've got some other things. Anyway, so there will be more content coming. So subscribe if you haven't already. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. Thumbs down if you didn't. And again, I know it's not the Mustang content we normally have, but again, hope you enjoyed it. So anyway, I'll see y'all in the next video.